모닝 파워! 모닝 터보!
Welcome back, guys. Just saw the makeup lady scramble off the stage. She was so scared to be on camera for that 2-second interval. But either way, we're kind of at the midpoint here, 2 series through. So we're going to be introducing some of our sets that are coming here at the SSL premiere.
This is actually quietly one of the better series of the evening. It's a ZVZ, so people always go, mirror match, like roaches and stuff. But there's like more roaches, and then like after that they're gonna make more roaches probably. But this is in terms of head-to-head, these two have played against each other so often. Back when Solar was on Samsung, Pro League matches against each other on the Zerg maps, and they were of course both the finalists of last season of SSL. Solar was the last Samsung champion of a Star League, and now moving into Splice, of course, with the collapse of Kespa. Now, Zest versus Alive will be the second. This is also a pretty tense matchup in Legacy of the Void. You would think that Zest would have the higher record, actually, rather a much better record than he does, even in head-to-head, 13-8, but Alive seems to kind of have his number, and Alive is definitely the favorite going to that one.
Oh yeah, if you just look at, you know, recent 10 games, 1-9 is Zest. When's the last time you saw that? Don't have the answer for you guys, but here we go into the last match of the night. SOS versus Innovation. I think you guys knew who the favorite is here. Innovation, one of the 4 horsemen of Terran. He's been doing so well. He is #1 currently ranked at SSL Premier, whereas SOS is #10.
Now, this is not going to be an easy series for SOS. He's 2-6 in Legacy of the Void and 10-22. Innovation had his number in Pro League and in individual leagues like the GSL and the SSL, where SOS has historically done poorly. He's more of a weekend tournament. He's an IEM, you know, DreamHack type player, but in longer extended leagues like this one, he's just really had struggles. Let's focus back again on our Zerg versus Zerg here. Solar was the victor last time these two faced each other in the SSL in the Grand Finals. And he won that last game, committing to the all-in. It was actually a really good finals. You know, a lot of people don't enjoy ZVZ because it's very fast-paced and there's not a lot of macro going on oftentimes, but it's a very mind-gamey meta and a matchup in general that happens so quickly. Taking the lead in a best-of-3 is so important in ZVZ because if you win, for example, with a timing push, hit a hatchery early, or you get away with a hatch, you can change the entire way your opponent thinks of the game. If he gets massively behind just on hatchery and spawning pool timings, he may play more greedy or more safe as a result, and you can actually counter that if you know that he's potentially going to be doing that reaction to your first opening.
Yeah, definitely very true. I wonder what kind of strategies these guys are going to bring into the best-of-3. We saw Biel against Dark. Biel was like, okay, I'm just going to cheese you every game and see how that goes. And I think he did eventually win that series. But either way, this is a new ZVZ, and here are the maps. Newkirk, Precinct, Frost, and Daybreak. Frost actually the first choice here for Solar, wants to play on that big map.
Yeah, definitely not going to be looking for early speedling attacks, I don't think. Wants to play the longer Roach game here. He's looking for that one.
Yeah, could be. So guys, let's jump into game #1 right now on Newkirk Precinct for Solar versus Dark.
Solar, 강민수. Dark, 황영우.
Fly, better fly, Jin Air. You guys might have noticed that the entire studio is lime green. There's a reason. Anyway, this is Solar down in the bottom right. The red Zerg from Splice.
And his opponent in blue, the bottom left, is Dark. I want to point out what happened on screen just a few seconds ago. It was a drone cancel, actually, from Solar, and he's going to go into a 12 pool. So he's got the fastest possible pool timing here. Looks like he was even indecisive about what opening he would want to do, which is always a bit worrisome for me as a commentator to watch someone do this. There's no loss to canceling the larva in the early game. It could be a problem in the late game if you're indecisive like that. But to see a player go into a best-of-3 with all this preparation make the first drone reflexively and then cancel it. Shows a bit of nerves. He took his hands off the keyboard there for just a second as well. He's not going to go into speed with this. It's just going to be early Zergling pressure. See, he still gets the 6 out even with the cancel and got all his drones, so
yeah,
that cancel, because it was done immediately, is not actually a problem for him.
And look across the map, Dark with the very early gas into pool himself, so he gets out a very early queen and some Zerglings of his own, but he will have the speed as well, so he will definitely hold off any early pressure from Solar, but the follow-up attack with the speed is going to be really scary for Solar, who has no sign of gas anytime soon as he takes his natural hatchery here.
And the Zergling speed, when it finishes, can allow him to outmaneuver Solar, who's just going to be pumping out a lot of drones. He's mining more money in minerals. He's going to have more larvae to make more drones shortly afterwards. Dark already seeing this, just going to pull his Zerglings in the main base. Sees this again with his Overlord here. We'll just take a defensive engage with the Queen. This is going to do very little. Solar can't even really deny a hatchery from being placed here in just a moment. So
yeah,
the build advantage will go to Dark. So you can just have a slightly later hatchery and that massive control in Lings.
Yeah, notice how Solar wasn't able to get into the main. He won't know if there is speed coming his way, but he's going to make a spine crawler just to be safe here actually in his main, as the natural is not completed, doesn't have the creep there. Dark is, because of this information lack, he's going to add 12 more Lings. So this might even be a Ling all-in he goes for here. He hasn't started a hatch, no drone. The Lings are spotted with the Overlord now that are coming out of the main base. He will start a hatchery, but he has the massive Ling advantage and speed for outmaneuvering. It's going to be important for Solar to hold the ramp. As you can see, his Queen is already there. They can't mine from this base for a long time. And even moving the spine crawler down here is going to be a big challenge. He's moving that second Queen in here just to reinforce the wall. The hatchery is under attack, though, and he cannot get surrounded here. That would be a big problem, and that's exactly what happens. Spine in range here, but he's going to clean up these Lings, and now this hatchery is absolutely vulnerable. The Queen that's about to pop out as well needs to micro that. Perfect surround here from Dark. Nicely done. Yep, gets that here. We'll have the pressure on the hatchery with all of these Lings that are making their way out. Solar, he is going to attempt to hold this. The spine crawler's coming on down. Spine's not in position, though, and he's just going to clear off so many Lings. He is behind in workers currently, and he didn't snipe the hatchery, so this is still a hold for Solar. Killed that Queen, which isn't too important in the grand scheme of things, but he still has 2. Still going to hit his injects. And even without the speed, with the 2 Queens in the spine, it looks like he will hold that hatchery. And now the tech of speed is no longer as valuable. He couldn't snowball this fight. There's a big advantage. He might even go for this follow-up all in with the Baneling Nest. But he couldn't snowball this into something massive, and now the speed advantage doesn't matter as much because the wall is tight. There's a spine crawler here. And now the advantage of having the additional larva a lot faster for Solar is going to be a big issue for Dark. You can outproduce him in drones. He's already ahead in workers. He has the better saturation. You can outproduce him in Zergling soon. If he doesn't make a Baneling Nest, though, he could die to the follow-up attack. Dark is making nothing but Lings back at home. No drones. And this is being hidden, but the Overlord checks that there's no drones mining at the natural, so that's a pretty big tell. Definitely is. Solar still is making only drones here, though. Not sure if he 100% knows at this point in time. He's just totally gasless, too. He's not going to want to make a Baneling Nest. 6 Banes on the way already, out of vision. Hasn't seen it. 2 gases coming down from Solar. I don't think he's seen this. He's making 3 more drones and a Roachhorn at the front. He is going to make a really safe wall here, though. He has 3 Queens, he can transfuse. I guess that's his play. Yeah, he's just going to turtle up hardcore with the spines. Okay, cancels the gas here. Banelings here do not break through. They get the wall down, but the Queens are still healthy. Not actually hitting the weakened Queen either, so transfuses. Going to go off. All he needs to do now is micro and split his drones and Lings. Actually, he had quite a few drones going down here. That was a huge hit on the Lings, but he holds. The wall. He holds. The wall absorbed so many of those Banelings. The Queens didn't go down. He had transfuses. And now this is basically the end of this story, a slow Ling counterattack. Yeah, Solar actually with immense confidence. I guess he did know what was coming, and he knew the exact timing. He's like, yeah, I've got enough time to get up a wall here and hold this off. I have 4 Queens, a Spine Crawler, and he just kept making drones because he knew he could hold it. Now he's going to get immensely ahead. If he had even avoided those Baneling hits on his Lings a little bit better, he might even be already attacking this hatchery right now with the Lings that he would have had.
lost a few drones, but he just had more larva for longer. He's had the better economy, the better worker count, which helped him buy that wall. And now it feels like Dark is going to pay for it.
Yeah, sending the Lings across is kind of an interesting idea. You know, you were talking about maybe if he saved all of his Lings from the Banelings earlier on, then he could go for it. But against speed, that's kind of a suicide mission, because you know if he has more Lings, you're just going to lose your own Lings. But I guess he didn't really care about the Lings because he's going into Roach Tech and Lair, so he's like, let's see if I can snipe a drone, and once that didn't work out, he's like, whatever, it's okay. So
he could see the worker count is much better for him, and once he gets a few roaches out, he can hold his third base, something that Dark will never be able to contest. And Dark is just insanely desperate right now. He actually just made 4 Overlords because he was supply blocked. Now he has too much supply, so he doesn't have a lot of money. Just droning as quickly as he can to try to make up the deficit. But as you can see, with all the economy Solar had, he's got the faster Lair, faster +1. He's building the roach count faster, and he's going to have a third base. All of these things that Dark cannot deny right now. And this is kind of how mirror matchups go. If you get massively ahead, it's very difficult for your opponent to catch up just because of the nature of you're working with the exact same tools as your opponent is. And if he has more than you, how can you ever catch up? It's going to take a big mistake for Solar here. He's going to get the scout off in the main base, but it's only just going to let him know what he already knows. He's really behind. His opponent has a better economy, and he has more roaches. It lets him know, for one, okay, you're not doing something crazy like Spire Tech, but even holding this third base is going to be such a challenge in just a moment. Once this third base starts to really get its larva out, start to get the extra economy, Dark has had to pay money to catch up in economy, and he's spent larva on those drones instead of roaches. The +1 lead here, the faster roach speed, all these things are going to help Solar deny this third base. He gets a faster scout in with the faster Lair Tech.
It's kind of just the follow-up. You know, it's one of those games where it's half decided in the early game, where Dark gets so far behind after his attack doesn't work that what are you really going to do? It's like desperation mode for Dark. He's just hoping that Solar makes some mistake, perhaps in his attack. Or if, you know, maybe Solar, or rather Dark, if he wants to go into something like Burrow movement and then hope that Solar doesn't attack, and perhaps Dark can make his way back through harassment. But as you were talking about, all the upgrades hitting at the exact same time, he's making a mini creep highway.
Yeah.
And he's looking to hit this even with spines and queens. So he really wants to swing the hammer right at this timing, and Dark, he's not going to be ready.
Speed, +1, all of these things ready for the attack. Dark doesn't have those tools. He has the lower roach count. He has a defender's advantage, but with the creep highway you mentioned and the pretty short rush distance, including rally coming from the third base, it's going to be very tough for Dark to hold this. He has the better defensive setup here, but he's just outnumbered currently. Getting a Ravager, he's trying to desperately add some AoE into the fight. Spore Crawler, actually, excuse me, Spike Crawler going to tank here.
Spine that could. We'll see if it actually does burrow. Doesn't look like it.
No, but it doesn't matter. The transfuses are even used here by Solar. The overwhelming roach count, speed too late from Dark. GG.
Solar takes the map. Nice little defense there. Wanted to go for the very early pool play, and at the end of it all, it wasn't looking all too good for him as Dark had that speed, but once the speed didn't pay off for him and the follow-up attack of the Banelings didn't work out, Solar was just so far ahead that he could take the win. So that was on Newkirk Precinct, one of our maps that is a bit shorter in rush distance, has a pretty wide ramp, all those things. It took 4 buildings, right, for Solar to block that off, but it did work. But now we are going into Frost for game number 2, a bigger one. We'll see what these players want to do on a bigger map like this.
That's the idea here. I suppose that he just doesn't want to deal with this early pressure. That's why he picked it as his first map. And we'll see if it happens here, as 4-player maps can go a bit longer in ZVZ. We'll probably see both players with the third base, barring some sort of crazy attack in the early game. But we will not see fast counterattacks. Even an early lead like Solar had last game won't necessarily win him the game on this map, because you can't just counterattack and finish it off with a faster roach speed and that faster third base.
Yeah, very true. So looks like we're all about ready to go into game number 2 right now, guys. Go out and tell your friends the 6 ZVZ is on. Solar versus Dark. Here we go. Up in the top right, the red Zerg player able to take game 1 with a nice defense. It is Solar.
And his opponent to the top left, close spots horizontally, it is Dark. So horizontal spawns, in this case, will allow for a lot more aggression, but still it's a much longer rush distance. You can't actually go across the map as the crow flies, really, because there's the bridge at the top. If you want to go from your natural and kind of go back up onto that ramp and then through the bridge, you're going through a lot of choke points. If your opponent figures this out, which he likely will with Overlords, can shut you down there, so you have to take the longer path, which goes through the watchtower. So attacking is going to be a little bit tougher on this map, as we were describing, and now you can see exactly why. See the hatch first here for Solar. So he wanted to play this map and wanted to play the greedy opening, whereas Dark is playing this once again with a fast gas and pool.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit more economical, as Artosis likes to say, of a gas pool from Dark, that is. So we'll have more drones with this, and we'll follow up with the faster hatch. Not going to be pooling a bunch of links just yet. Could follow up with it, I suppose, if he really wanted to, but a lot of minerals are going to be into that hatch.
Solar is not going to go gasless this game either. He's going to add his own speed. It's going to be a little bit later, but the difference here in builds in terms of economy and speed is almost negligible, as Dark will have obviously a slightly faster link speed, but he will have a slightly later extra larva coming from the hatchery and mining. So you know, two different ways to approach a safe expand. So he immediately has the speed as soon as the pool finishes, and pulls one drone out of gas, so gonna mine a little bit more. Whereas back here at home, Solar is working towards his own speed. He'll have it, like I said, just a few seconds later. See how many he pulls out of the gas. Just gonna be pretty much mirror openings. Not the start exactly the same, but where they're going.
Yeah, and it's kind of cool to mention, you were talking about the different features of this map, especially at horizontal spawns with the bridge and stuff, so these players could try to take that upper kind of third base if they, you know, as long as they get those overlords in position and they do this, scout the units if they are coming. If they want to take the base that's farther away from their opponent, they could take it to the south.
You know what, though? We were talking about the map a lot here, but something that's really interesting is this is going to be a fast lair coming out from Solar. He skipped the ling speed entirely, never started it, and the fact that those lings were not allowed to get into the main base is actually going to be pretty important. Solar starts a spine crawler here. Evo Chamber is pretty telling that it's going to be just a faster Roach tech. There's the Roach Warren coming up. So not going to be like a Muta Rush or anything like that. Just wants to have faster Roaches and make a tight wall to defend against this heavy ling pressure that Dark is sending across the map. Spinecrawler is not ready. He does have a decent amount of transfuse energy here. He's going to need at least one, I think, to hold this.
It's going to be rough. That's a lot of lings over here. You can see he has a drone in position to make a building, but it's not going to happen. Some lings pile on through. That spine is getting to work as it does finish. The drones are pulled off the line. He's trying to hold this, but all the queens have gone down.
Yep, drones here just trying to fight and buy time around this spine crawler. As a few more lings come out, they don't have speed. Looks like he's going to lose about 3 drones here, perhaps a 4th one. Spine going to hold this again,
wow.
So this actually ends up being a solid hold for Solar, who now has an 11-worker lead. The queens did not have enough for transfuse, by the way. I thought they did when I looked at your monitor, but upon closer inspection, there weren't any available. The one queen that almost had a transfuse, he microed it back, which actually bought a lot of time. Dark's going to elevate her in, but this is already scouted by Solar. He's making a few roaches here.
Needs the roaches and needs them to not get surrounded. Once more queens to deal with this too. This is a lot of lings with speed already into the main. Is he going to pull the drones this time to try to hold this off? The immediate surround on that one roach.
He doesn't actually finish it off. Yep, the second one's going to get surrounded. Another queen pops out. He's going to Ravager cancel this, it looks like. Here come the drones off the line for the defense. Doesn't have any spine crawlers here in the main. More drones being pulled off the line. So many are being killed here. The Ravager's actually going to finish. I just don't think this is enough. It's just not enough.
Yeah, you can see that Dark is already following up here with drones. And he may even take out that slow Overlord with the next Corrosive Biles. So at the end of the day, a razor-thin hold from Solar, but he has the lair. I think he finished that. He has the lair, has the earlier Roach Warren, has the earlier tech. He's a little bit behind on the upgrade of +1. And the economies are pretty similar, but overall, definitely a win here for Solar.
Definitely. I mean, Dark had, you know, killed a few drones. He produced some of his own back at home. But it's just a really high cost because the Roach count is going to allow Solar to hold on to a third base a lot easier. You have to imagine he's going to take the one that's to the bottom of his natural. The lair is going to give him the Roach speed. They're actually going to go for a counter all-in with a Nidus network. Did not expect this one coming, but I really don't think Dark will either. He has the Scout that Dark doesn't have lair, so he won't have an Overseer, so we can't see this. And he has an Overseer in position to start the Nidus network, so this is really cool by Solar. Sees a third base as well.
Oh,
this is so great for him.
He's licking his lips. He's like, give me that third base. Give it to me, Dark. And Dark, well, he lays it down. He's sticking up, and he's macroing up. And Solar, in a similar situation to game number 1, where he holds the all-in push from Dark and then follows up with his own attack, is just going for it quicker and on a bigger map with the Nidus. So
no vision of this whatsoever. He didn't send the creep to the north of his base because he had no idea, no expectation this was going to be coming. And it's going to be in with just 10 Roaches, 2 Ravagers, but more importantly, the Queens for the Transfuse. He's going to try to catch these units immediately. A lot of the units of Dark were out on the map too. Coming home are those Zerglings.
Trying to make this work. All the drones are pulled off the line to help out with the defense. It looks like there's only 1 Queen here in the attack, and a pretty good position for Dark. The Lings are coming back.
A few Lings coming back. The rest of these units spawning out of this Nidus network now. Just a slight lead here for Solar in terms of Roaches. Dark's just trying to buy time here. He's up 3 Roaches right now. More Queens just popped out, though. That means more defensive energy to be used eventually in this fight, but more so it's about the DPS right now. He needs to be fighting with the Queens on the Roaches, though, not on the Overlords. I think this is just too much anyways.
Yeah, reconnects those, and more Roaches are going to pop out. It looks like Solar looking to take the quick 2-0 victory here up against Dark. Very, very nice follow-up.
Just camping this larva so no more Roaches can come out and escape to join up with the rest. And that is going to be it. Transfuse goes down on the Ravager. The Solar side of the crowd is getting super pumped here. This is going to be a 2-0 victory.
Dark just doesn't want to accept it right now.
Yep. Well, it's been a really frustrating series for him, but he committed so much aggressively. Solar with a solid defense. And that's how he wanted to play this series. He went for 4-player map anyways. Had the follow-up here. Beautiful decision to, knowing that there was no lair, no Overseer to scout, go for this. He saw the third base. He knew Dark was basically checkmated that moment. All he had to do was micro properly. Dark is trying to hold on, but he can't even produce anything at this point.
He's
he has
doing
a third base, but
desperation Ravager style. It's like, well, if I hit the perfect corrosive vials, well, maybe then I can get back into the game. And looks like Solar just wants to shut that down as he goes for the hard engage. But
he's going to take out this lair anyways. He's starting his own third base, the Roach speed back at home, and Dark is trying to do what he can with this choke point. The Broodling's actually helping to get this around, but the bile doesn't hit anyways. He actually has evened up the army supply quite significantly. But he doesn't have drones at his third base, so he's really basically on 1 base right now.
It's 3 base to 2. Solar is so far ahead when it comes to the drone count. So even if he does hold this off and send Solar back, Solar miles ahead at this point. And I love Solar's idea. He's like, okay, if I can just hold this off and directly go for another attack, there's no kind of other variables, you know? It's either you hold off my attack or not, instead of like, okay, we're gonna go into big Roach numbers, you're gonna try to harass, and if I mess up a little bit, maybe then it goes back to an even game. He's just like, no, I know you're not gonna scout for this, you have to play greedy in terms of the economy as a follow-up to catch up to me, so I'm just gonna follow up with my own aggression, and it's really worked out. Now we do see Dark moving across the map.
His army's already smaller though, and really wants to try to make this work against the third base. He's going to take a different angle here, coming from the north side. At least that's what he was considering, but it took him so long to get up there. He knew he needed to actually go south. He needs to hit this as soon as possible. Going to have the control over this ramp temporarily, but this is a much stronger army for Solar, just pushing through, targeting down those Ravagers. He has the better Roach number. He has the Spine here as well, and that's going to be it. GG! Solar takes the win, 2-0.
Solar with a big win here, as I believe he does make it into playoffs now, because Patience, with his loss, is one of those guys who was challenging Solar for that place in the playoffs, but because Solar takes the 2-0 victory, will make his way in. So we might have an interview with him, actually.
Right. I think we are, so stay tuned for that one, guys. We're going to hear what Solar has to say about this ZVZ. Definitely came in better prepared. Dark side of the crowd definitely pretty frustrated here. The silence is a big contrast there between the sides, but Dark went for the all-in, took the dark path, if you will, you know, the cheesier, more aggressive style, the gas builds, and Solar felt like he just had every answer. I don't want to say even that he blind countered, but he scouted, responded, walled, had his units in position every time, and made these exchanges just cost inefficient for Dark. Had the beautiful transition. I was much more impressed, honestly, with the second game. Just seeing all the triangles, all the lines connect there with the lack of a lair, the overseer position. Nidus was the perfect answer to close out the game.
Yeah, I mean, the Holden game 1 was kind of cookie cutter. You know, he didn't really do anything special, but game number 2 was really the one for me. Super razor thin, but he makes it work. Definitely very deserving of this win. Now we're going to be talking to him here in the interview. We'll see what he has to say. Solar, the first one to qualify for playoffs. It's an achievement. I'm interviewed by Suhyun. He's actually amazed because he didn't come with high hopes for today's match against Dark.
네, 아무래도 개인적으로 지금 세종적전 중에서 동족전이 엄청 어려워요, 개인적으로. 그래가지고 박령호 선수가 워낙 동족전을 연습 때 잘하셔가지고.
He says, especially so because the mirror matchup, ZVZ is so hard right now as a Zerg player. He prepared a lot of different options for his battle against Dark, and he feels like all of his prepared strategies worked really well.
산란못을 했잖아요. 네, 솔직히 그 맵이 워낙 멀어서 잘 안 나오는 전략이거든요. 그래서 거기서 제가 첫 판에서 근데 상대도 빠른 산란못이어서 좀 당황하긴 했지만 그래도 같은 빌드인데 이렇게 이겨가지고 첫 판이 잘 풀려서 이렇게 쉽게 이길 수 있었던 것 같아요.
네, 그런데 두 번째 세트에서 박명훈 선수의 반격이 만만치가 않았습니다.
First map on Newkirk, he went for a 12 pool, and kind of hard to make that work on Newkirk because it's pretty long rush distance, but he was surprised because Dark did the same thing. So you guys can kind of see the mind games that do go into ZVZ.
박령호 선수가 근데 되게 가난하게 올인식으로 하시다고 해가지고 이길 수 있었던 것 같아요.
네, 오늘 준비한 전략이
Then on the second map, he said he should have blocked the entrance with an Evo chamber sooner, but he tried to defend with queens, which was a little bit greedy, and that's why Dark was able to squeeze on through.
그리고 개인적으로 결승 직행하고 싶어가지고 다음 경기도 2대0으로 이겨서.
So final words for the fans.
네, 지금까지 플레이오프 확정진 강필 선수
He
만나봤습니다.
says, I may have qualified, but there are still matches to be played, so I'm going to try to win the last one 2-0 and pick up that fat check. Well, direct translation there.
Exactly. His match will be next week against Zest, so he'll have a good chance there. Well, we're going to Zest versus Alive as our next matchup of the night after a bit of a longer commercial break. So we're going to have our 10 questions, 10 answers in the break, so check it out. See you guys soon.